Welcome, Business Geeks, to the Business Geeks podcast. I'm your host, Super Joe Pardo from superjoepardo.com. I'm joined by my two fabulous guests, my fabulous co-hosts, Jennifer Crawford of Sparent.co and Samantha Riley of SamanthaRiley.global. Sam, how are you doing today?
I am doing very well, thank you. Happy New Year, Joe and Jen.
Yes.
It's great to be here for a new year, 2022.
It is. We made it. I don't know what
Someone
we made
actually
it to.
said to me, it's like when you say it, it's like 2020 as well, like 2022. I'm like, no, take that away. We don't want that.
Amen to that. Jen, how are you doing? Did you have a great vacation, I hope?
Oh, yeah. I'm doing great. I feel like I have to share that I did come down with COVID for the first time over Christmas, as well as several of our family members. Everybody's okay. It was 3 days, relatively minor, mild symptoms, and I'm 100% fine now, but I was just so mad after, to get it after all this time of being careful. But this Omicron is no joke. It is so dangerous. And this was, I've been triple vaxxed. So luckily my symptoms were fairly mild and they didn't last very long, but yeah, it kind of put a damper on the holidays, just a little bit.
I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
I bet. Yeah, that's I mean, it's somebody I was just talking to, friend of the show, Sue Allen Clayton, said that someone she knows, I don't want to give away who it was, but someone she knows like feels like they've been playing tag with the virus, with the illness, and then all of a sudden they got it, but it's like 2 years after the fact,
Yeah.
But I mean, mild symptoms are better than, and that person apparently had a bit of a rough patch with it, but not as rough as some other people that I personally know that are going through it, as well as some people that I know that passed away recently from it. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough on all fronts.
Absolutely.
It's tough to avoid. I mean, just with the, how transmissible this current variant is. We knew we were taking a risk. Our family got together for the first Christmas since the beginning of COVID. We were indoors unmasked. And although the majority of us were vaccinated and boosted and nobody had any, symptoms, nobody was symptomatic. So we don't know where it originated or with who, and it doesn't really matter.
I was going to say, it doesn't matter, does it?
It doesn't matter. But yeah, that's what happened. And I guess in the end, I'm really glad I got to see my family and spend time with them. And from what I've read, getting COVID after you've been vaccinated and boosted actually gives you a little extra bump in your immunity. And I'm hoping that science plays out. Anyway, it is what it is. I avoided it, for a long time, but it finally got me.
Yeah, I think just in Sydney, just about everyone I know has COVID at the moment.
I feel
and
like
it's it's just gone crazy. And it was interesting because Leon and I walked down to our local restaurant last night to grab some dinner. And as we were walking past one of the cafes, there's a sign up saying that they're closed because all of their staff have COVID. And then when we were at the restaurant, they were on very limited staff. I think they only had 2 servers, and normally they have like 8 or 9 on a Thursday night. So and we've got supply. I don't know about you guys, but supply chain issues. 50% of our truck drivers in Sydney have got COVID. Most of our supermarkets can't get staff because they've got COVID. I think we're going to be living with it for a little while. And like you said, Jen, I hope we're getting to the point where the symptoms aren't as bad as what we saw at the beginning of the virus. Although, Joe, it sounds like some people that have been quite ill from it. But luckily, the people I know have actually been okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really a crapshoot you know, of whether or not you're going to have really bad symptoms or if you have underlying things. I mean, it's the same thing we've been, you know, living with for the last 2 years. And it's just unfortunate that one of the people that we know that passed away, they chose not to get vaccinated, you know, on purpose. And yeah, it didn't play out too well for them. But yeah, so speaking, you know, going from where the restaurant example from yesterday, which really sucks, and there is tons of examples of supply chain issues up and down our country and you know, now I guess down in Australia and the rest of the world. There is a bright spot that I wanted to point out that they've been running these commercials for a little while now. And what the is Domino's, right? So they made this decision to, and I'm clicking on links, and they made this decision to buy up 100, and this was in November, but I've been seeing the commercials for a while, and I forgot to bring it up before, but they bought $100,000 worth of gift cards to local restaurants to give out with their pizzas, because the delivery fees from these services like Uber Eats and DoorDash and all them have just, you know, they really take a big chunk of the profits, almost to a leeching level that, you know, is detrimental to those businesses, especially at a time where costs are going up. And you know, while one company like Chipotle has, you know, shown that like, hey, we can raise prices all we want and people aren't going to care whether or not, you know, they're paying an extra 50 cents or 20 cents or 30 cents, whether regardless if we have actual supply chain issues or not, or staffing issues or not, we're just going to raise the prices anyway because everybody's just getting used to paying these expanded prices. You know, to see Domino's pay out $100,000 is pretty cool. But the bigger thing here, especially because we are the business geeks, is that you know, having a company, you know, do that and then utilizing it as part of their marketing budget to be able to push out a heartwarming message. To me, it's like a triple win for everybody, right? It's a win for the customers getting those gift cards. It's a win for Domino's to be able to promote it. It's a win for the restaurants to get, you know, some extra cash and sell some gift cards leading into the holiday season. I guess it was leading into the holiday season. I'm not sure when they specifically did it, but you know, I'm all for the win-win-win.
Yeah, good on Domino's. Hey, that's great. God, I sounded really Australian then, didn't I? As it came out, I was just like, wow, that was very Australian.
Please keep the Australian turned up to 11, please.
Yeah.
We all love it. Well, Joe, and did you catch that there's another nuance to this move by Domino's with these gift cards? Their business is actually being threatened or affected by these third-party delivery apps like DoorDash, Uber Eats. So they are trying to drive people away from those third-party apps by pointing out how high their fees are, as you mentioned, because that's becoming a huge competitor to their own established delivery service. So they're kind of sticking it to the third-party apps, which I don't have a problem with. There are problems with those third-party apps, which you already mentioned, Joe. And it's still a triple win, but also not completely altruistic, which is fine. But I just thought that was an interesting nuance that it was, a very well-planned and orchestrated strategy, and not just a marketing level, but a long-term strategy to help deflect whatever pain they've been experiencing financially from that competition.
No, that's a great point, and I think that gets back to the the KPI thing versus like the ROI, idea, right? Of like a great example of this is Kohl's, right? I don't think you have Kohl's down in Australia, Sam, but Kohl's, enables you to do refunds for Amazon purchases in their store. So the whole idea is to get people, like, because they were having it's retail, so they're in a time where it's hard to get people to come out to your store. So they're like, "Oh, great, we'll team up with Amazon. We'll take care of the returns. We'll package them up. All you gotta do is literally just show up with the thing and be like, here you go. Here's my thing, and you just send it on its way, and it's a free return opportunity. And then they even give you a coupon. Like usually it's like $5 off, or I think the other one was like 20% off or 25% off one item. But the 25% off has a ton of ledger to it, to what you can and can't buy. But the $5 can literally be used on, I believe, anything in the store. So it's an opportunity. And so when they flipped the script on like, how do we get more people to buy from us versus like, how do we just get people in the store? Because if they're at the store, they might buy something. And I tell you, I've increased my spending with Kohl's because of that, like returning things to Amazon and then getting $5 and on the way out, I like that shirt, or I need to get this or that while I'm here. And it just creates a buying opportunity that literally would not have existed otherwise. Real quick, I wanted to point out that this isn't the first time Domino's has done something like this before. Do either of you remember when they were paving the roads?
No, I never heard about this.
Pizza. So what they did was that they had like a whole commercial set series about, the bumps in the road, the potholes in the road are screwing up the pizza, right? The cheese is sliding around, everything's going crazy. The madness. We need to stop the madness. So what do? We're going to fill in the potholes. We're going to pay for the asphalt to do it. We're going to get it done, and then we're going to stamp a Domino's logo on top of, of that pothole patch. And so it's not the first time that they've done things like that. And Domino's has come a long way, because like there was a long time there where and they've admitted in their commercials where like Domino's was not people's favorite place to go to get pizza. It was like the last place you would go.
It is definitely on my list of last places to go to get pizza.
So I like the pizza for what it is. I mean, we have in Jersey, we have lots of great pizza places, obviously, but I like it for what it is. And I actually like their sandwiches, and their other things that they have aren't bad. I don't order from there, not even once a month, because the kids don't like their pizza. Don't like their pizza. It's like too garlicky for them. So we order from one of our local places here, but I don't mind it. It's okay. It's okay for what it is. It's not the best. I'm not taking Sam when she comes from Australia here. Like, hey, I got some pizza for you. We're going to Domino's. Like,
hey, look, I'm not saying they shouldn't be a company. I'm just saying it's not my preference for pizza. But I think that what they're doing is great. And I hear what you're saying, Jen, but at the same time, when we're in business, we have to make smart, strategic decisions to keep the business afloat. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm all for it.
I'm for it, too. I have no problem with it. I thought it was interesting that is where some of that motivation came from, but I could see completely how, for the most part, everybody's winning here.
Mm-hmm.
It is. So we have a question in the comments, and if you have a question, please feel free to drop it in the chat, and we will do our best to answer it. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to answer this one that well, because I don't know that any of us have done in inventing. But A Day with Jersey says, "Hi Joe, just want to ask if I think of something to invent, how will I start? Because I'm not really sure about this invent help, if I can trust them." There's invent help. There's that other one that runs the commercials like all the time here. I don't know if it's just local to Jersey, or maybe it is invent help. I don't recall. Do you know any, Sam?
Or Jen? It's definitely not my
cup of tea. I've never heard of an invent help. I mean, I'm sure.
This is what I was thinking of, because I've seen so many commercials with like this logo in it. Personally, I don't know anybody that's ever used it. I know a handful I actually know quite a few people now that have patents that have gone and gone their own way to get patents, and I don't know that any of them have gone through invent help. I mean, for me, what like because like Melissa brings this up all the time, like especially when we used to watch Shark Tank together. Now I watch Shark Tank by myself, with 3,000, almost 4,000, or actually like 12,000 of my closest friends on YouTube for returning viewership. So the thing there is when you're trying to get started, like I would do my best to get a prototype off the ground, right? And then you could start to say, okay, well, is there something patentable here? What can I do? Like you can go, I would go to a patent attorney at that point. I don't know that I would use Invent Help, but I don't know anybody that has or hasn't. I'd be interested. Maybe we could crowdsource this with the super community and find out if anybody has used Invent Help, because I'm gonna guess that if they've existed since 1984, according to their website, and I remember these commercials from even from a kid, seeing them on like daytime television, like Price is Right and stuff like that during the daytime. It can't be all that bad, right? But I always have my own suspicions as well. Like, oh, you're giving up that idea, and then how do I know that they're not going to go run off and find out if it's patentable? Now, I know somebody that works in the patent office in DC. Well, they live in Florida, but they work remotely to the patent office in DC. So if you have any questions, I could easily pass that along to a friend, my good friend who is a patent attorney, works in the patent office in DC. And basic questions. Obviously, I'm not gonna like here's the drawing or whatever and use up tons of his time. But it is something that I could do if you want to reach out. It'd be go to my website, shoot me an email. That'd be great. superjoepardo.com. So yeah, but I would start with the prototype. Depending on what you're building, you could get yourself a 3D printer, though I don't know personally how to use them. You could find somebody to do it for you. There are places like sites and stuff that could help you, but again, if you're worried about somebody stealing your idea, that could be tough. It's not easy, and that's why I've had these conversations with Melissa, my wife, many a times. She's like, oh, like we could do so, blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, great. So a patent's going to be a couple tens of thousands, and it's gotta be, and you might not even get it, right? Like that might not be a thing that you're capable of patenting. And I've heard horror stories from my friend in the patent office, like with the lawyer, like he's like, this is not patentable, and they're like, maybe take another look at it, and it's like, no, we are we've been going back and forth on this for 6 months. No, like that's not a thing you can do. So it's a tough road. It's not easy to invent something for sure. But I don't know if either of you have something to pack on top of that.
Yeah, I actually don't know anyone that's actually invented anything. It's not in my world.
Yeah, not in my world. I mean, I guess my instinct would be, get that prototype, protect it, pitch your partner, right? Like, you've got to get it in front of people, and then you most likely are going to need some sort of partner. I'm guessing because there's just so much involved in getting something to market invented. So yeah, I mean, I wish you all the luck in the world. I wish I knew your real name, A Day with Jersey, because I feel weird saying, hey, A Day with Jersey. You can be anonymous. That's your right. I wish you all the luck.
They have a vlog, actually, A Day with Jersey. Yeah. Jersey is the name. I thought it was a day like in Jersey, like New Jersey or Jersey in England or something, but no, it's Jersey's the name.
I really like that name. There we go.
That's
right.
Clever then, and I apologize for being snarky about it. Good luck to you, Jersey.
Yeah. So it is tough. It is a long road. It is not simple. And Let's see. Oh, it's it's the baby's vlog. So
Ah.
good job, Jen. I knew it wasn't the person's name, but I knew it was something to that effect. Thanks, guys. Questions answered. We'll DM you one of these days. Thank you. You're so welcome, and please do. On a side note here, I'm going to be hosting a pitch competition in February, I think it will be. And so to do so, one of the things that came up was how do we go about protecting these ideas, right? For the entrepreneurs. Because like if we do it live in a live stream, like, ooh, cool, live stream, like you got the chat, you got the people, like things are going, and that's awesome. But like then there's no way to prevent people from like just straight up stealing ideas. So I think that the way that I've come up with it is I think it's going to have to end up being like a series where we shoot like, like behind closed doors, record it and then edit it so that we're protecting anything that like really needs to be protected. So that the person isn't on the hook to like say too much by accident or because they want to win the pitch competition. So we're looking for sponsors, and I'll be putting out a whole thing for people to apply and all that in the coming weeks ish. So yeah, looking forward to that.
How exciting.
Yeah, fun. I love watching pitches. I just love it.
Well, I know that just before Christmas, I brought up the Disney documentary Own the Room. Did you guys ever go back and watch it?
No, it's on my list.
Oh.
Not yet. I do have it on my list. I'm going to get to it.
It is very good. Did you guys know? Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, well, I was just going to. Well, all right, but real quick aside. On Christmas, or no, on New Year's Eve, me and Ava stayed up till midnight. Dom fell asleep at like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. But we ended up watching in the final hour leading up to New Year's Eve, the first of the Imagineers documentary that's on Disney Plus. The first episode, all about Disneyland. And Ava was like she wants to be like a creator, she says, inventor, creator. So for her, she was just eating it up. Like, oh, and she's been to Disneyland once, so it was kind of really cool for her. So I'm sorry, that was an aside. Sam, go ahead.
No, but I do love that series too, and because I love Disney as well, and I'm a creative, and yes, I was like, oh, I could do that. It's very cool. But I was going to say, did you know that the world, like just only a couple of days ago, has had its first publicly traded company to ever be worth $3 trillion?
What?
Yes. That is Apple. What is Apple? Yes.
Yeah. What is it?
Like
For $100.
Crazy. Yeah. Wow.
It is. I mean, we were just talking about Apple last week on the show, right? And you had mentioned that you have friends that work there. And so it is it's incredible for a company. I think that the powerful thing there is the company, while they do have some recurring products and they have, some streams, smaller streams of like app revenue and that kind of stuff coming in, they're physical products. It's not like they're selling them every day. A pack, like packs of gum are just going out by the by the pallets. So yeah, they're selling lots and lots of MacBooks over the cross of the country or iPads and iPhones and things. But like, there's one launch day a year for an iPhone. Yeah. There's one launch day a year for an iPad, maybe two, depending on how they break it up. MacBooks and things like that. So it's like, I think it goes to show the power of like, you don't necessarily have to have that super high volume across the whole year. Like, again, like the pack of gum example, or something that's like constantly just, that
we're just buying every single day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible.
Al brings up, hello, I am an inventor. Good to see you, Al, in the chat. Once I got my prototype done, I didn't have the money to get an attorney to do my patent work, so I did it myself. I was granted a design patent, and it only took 11 months.
Love it.
Yeah, that's determination, because it's 11 months is a long time to be sitting on something nervously, hoping that nobody else, swoops in, or somebody else was coming up with the idea, and it's a long period of time. But yeah, I mean, look, you can start an LLC. You don't have to go to an attorney to start an LLC or anything like that, right? Like you can do it yourself. But there's a reason to pay for it. But patent attorneys are not cheap, and aren't a magic bullet to make sure that it actually happens either. So there's that. And A Day with Jersey said thank you for the info, Al. Yeah. So speaking of kitchens, which again, if anybody has any questions, throw them in the chat. But going back to the whole Domino's kitchen thing, Jen, you brought up this article. So if you would like to take the floor here.
Well, I brought it up because I had not heard of this term of cloud kitchen. It's a new industry. Have either of you heard of cloud?
No, I have not.
Yep.
I have not.
Well, once you hear about this, you're going to probably have the same reaction I did, which was, oh, this makes a lot of sense. So these are kitchens that are designed to cook and prepare food for delivery only. So there's no seating in these, they're not restaurants, but they're cooking restaurant style meals. And so this is a business model that has gained steam, certainly because of the pandemic. People aren't eating out as much. Yet there is still that demand for good, convenient food made by somebody other than myself. So this article just talks about how these cloud kitchens are popping up, and sort of the pros of the cloud kitchen in terms of low startup costs. They're more efficient. The menus are more flexible. There's more freedom for chefs to experiment and get kind of change up the menu. Also, you kind of have your own digitalized means to capture data from your customers and build on that relationship. It's easy to market. There's some disadvantages as well. Obviously there's just, a lot of competition out there and the delivery apps are expensive, and there's just, the restaurant industry is just a fiercely competitive and low margin business anyway. So it's not a magic bullet for somebody who wants to get into that space. But I found it's really interesting when you see these new business models develop as our culture and is changing and our world is changing, and how businesses adapt with it. I found that just really fascinating that this was now.
How does it work over there in the US in regards to getting be registered to cook food? Because in Australia, and I don't know if it's the same, but in Australia, you can't just cook food in your kitchen and sell it. You have to get food licenses, and you have to be. The local council has to come out and make sure that everything's sanitary, because that's my first thought is, how do I know if that kitchen's safe? We're in a restaurant. Well, you don't know if a restaurant is either, but at least there's regulations.
Completely legitimate concern, but in the US we have the same standards, and inspections that need are similar, inspections need to happen. I don't necessarily, although this picture looks like it's in somebody's home.
This is a terrible example.
I don't think most of them are in home.
Oh, okay. Because to me, I just saw that and automatically thought, so this person's just popping into their kitchen to make a couple of meals. No,
I don't
not
think
like that.
It's not that simple. I think these are, they're commercial spaces, but they're just, they're not built out the way you would a restaurant kitchen that might be seen, or, have a lot of people working in them. So they're a little bit scaled down, but they are commercial, but less expensive because of the type of use that they're being used for. So anyway, super crazy cool.
So this launched maybe about 6 months ago. Actually, no, it was longer than that. I think it was the end of 2020 that this launched. So Mr. Beast, if you watch any YouTube at all, Mr. Beast is like the biggest, if consistent viral video creator on the platform. And what he did was he created Mr. Beast Burger using ghost kitchens, which is, I've never heard the term cloud kitchen before.
Cloud or ghost, yeah.
Ghost is what they were calling it when he did it. But when he launched, I think he was like something like 300 restaurants across the country. And it was the app had built-in delivery service and all that. So I was like, I actually made a video on this because I wanted to do a review and make something of it. And then ultimately I had to call customer. Ultimately, I had to call customer service.
Oh, hang on. Really?
I never got my burger. I spent like $60 and it never showed up. And then the app just kept pushing back the delivery time. By days, days and days went by. Yeah, no, it was not a good experience at all. So my review, and I was hoping to have a review like that day that it launched. It was like almost 15 days later because I never actually got the food, and it took that long to resolve because there was no one to call. When you called, you got basically a looping system that said, "Oh, did you use Postmates? Did you use this company, this company?" And no matter who I talked to, I even called the restaurant. So the restaurants they were using was Carrabba's. They use restaurants all across the country and a bunch of different ones. And at the time, Carrabba's, they had basically wherever there was a Carrabba's location, that's where Mr. Beast Burger was. And if you go to these places, they actually have a pickup spot for in front of the building, for Mr. Beast Burger, for people to run out and drop off the food. So yeah, so I was super disappointed when I ordered it because it pushed. I'll tell you why it didn't come. The reason it didn't come was because when I ordered it from Pennsylvania because that was the closest place to me. But there's a $5 bridge toll between me and there, and a pretty sizable amount of highway distance. And so when I called the restaurant, I talked to somebody. They're like, "Yeah, we made your food and it got picked up." I guess the person, I said, I guess the person just ate it. And because when I tipped, I didn't realize where I was ordering it from. I just was like, oh, here's a basic tip. I wasn't factoring in, it's going to cost them $5 just to do the toll over the bridge, and that kind of stuff. So I don't blame them for not wanting to pick it up, but win some, lose some. So anyway, it took me that long to be able to get my video out to talk about it. And eventually I was refunded. But I had to tweet at the Mr. Beast Burger support Twitter handle for them to actually do something about it. Otherwise, it just would have never happened. So I've never actually got to have my Thanks, Siri, appreciate it. I never actually got to have my Mr. Beast Burger, but it is a neat concept, and it was huge when he rolled it out. Everyone was like, "How did you come up with 300 locations overnight?" Like that, that's nobody does that. That's not a thing, So he was able to do it, and apparently the food's really good. And to promote this, what he did was he actually opened up the world's first Mr. Beast Burger, where I guess they took an abandoned or shuttered fast food restaurant, turned it into a Mr. Beast Burger for the video, and gave out free Mr. Beast Burgers along with free MacBooks, free stacks of cash in the bags and all that kind of stuff. Because there was the line was backed up for a mile and a half, 2 miles, something like that.
Crazy.
For people trying to get there. And he did zero promotion. He just literally put up the sign. They put up tarped it so that nobody could see what it was. They undid it, and then all of a sudden everybody, these people started showing up and lining up for a mile plus. It's crazy. So that's ghost kitchens, though. It's cool, but I'm gonna guess it's probably better now. I know there's one in Cherry Hill now, and Sicklerville. So if I wanted it, I don't know if the app would still point me to the Pennsylvania one that's over the bridge versus one that's closer, over the bridge to me.
That's an app
but
issue there.
I want to get it at some point. I just haven't gotten around to it. So that's one example of a ghost kitchen.
Cool.
there was this story that Jen wanted to bring up, and I mean, I know some of what the story is. Do you wanna take it over there, Jen?
Well, sure, Joe. You can hand me this baton, and I'll muddle my way through. So, probably a lot of you are familiar with Elizabeth Holmes. She was the CEO of Theranos. Theranos has been in the news for all the wrong reasons, and her trial took place recently, and she was found guilty on a number of counts. What I thought was interesting about this particular article is they were speaking specifically to how this might affect startup culture, because a lot, Miss Elizabeth did a lot of things wrong, but one thing she did and got vilified for, or part of the things she got vilified for was sort of this hyperbolic presentation of what her company's numbers were, what the capabilities were, kind of skirting that line, or blurring the line between what was reality and what was planned, kind of thing. And this article was actually fairly sympathetic to her, in the sense that they're like, look, every startup does this. They fudge the numbers. They're trying to get investor money. They put on, best case scenarios. They bolster what they're capable of, in order to get that investor money coming in. And so is it a lie, or is it just, hey, this is what our plan is. This is what we're planning to do, and a way to spin it, and so that those investor dollars come in fast and furiously. So I guess the question is, will this change how startups talk about their futures and their products with their potential investors, so that they don't find themselves in a situation where they're deceitful and in
Joe's got a tick. He needs
No.
to speak here.
No, not at all.
I'm basically just regurgitating the article, so you can go right ahead, Joe. I have
Not even a smidge. And the reason is because the people that are investing on that level want that magic bullet, right? They're investing in big power plays that either are going to go to zero or going to go to the moon and back, right? That's the whole thing. So was she misleading? From my understanding, absolutely, 100%. It's not even close. It's not even remotely close. It's not like, oh, we're doing this today so we can get the business model going, and we're building these relationships and all this stuff, and the hope is that in 5 to 10 years this will work. No, this will work now. And my big takeaway for this is, a good friend of ours of the show, Larry Roberts, did this whole, and I think somebody else had talked about it as well before, coined the term comparanoia. And we as entrepreneurs, get that all the time. And you're like, oh, I'm busting my butt every day. I'm doing the things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm trying to make it work. I'm grinding it out, and then here you have somebody like Elizabeth Holmes, who's like getting to share a stage with like past presidents, and like getting, oh, this is the next most important person on the planet, blah, 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 blah. Like, don't do it, because you know what? It probably is a bunch of BS in most cases. It probably will be. And real quick, before I give the stage over to you, Sam, I wanted to point out this story. I just happened to watch. This happened to be like the next up video that I was watching something, and this was the next video that popped up. And that video is the video is called "I Ran a $500,000 Ponzi Scheme at 19: Fakes, Frauds, and Scammers." And it's a Vice video. And this kid actually ended up going to jail for 3 years because, based on around the hype of being a young 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old, or I don't know if he even got to 21, and throwing these crazy parties, booking all these big
Fire
people.
Festival.
Well, yeah. So but he didn't starve people along the way. But point being is that the thing was sinking. The shows were bombing. They weren't doing the money they were supposed to do. And even though it's like, oh, we're only supposed, like, if 1 out of 5 shows hit, we're all good. Everything's cool. Well, they weren't having any shows hit, and that started this thing where they just kept borrowing more money to give these people. And he frames it as, I was young, I was dumb, I made mistakes, and we were just, we weren't setting out to create a Ponzi scheme. We just kept digging a hole that got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the only way to keep it going was get more investor money to pay back, pay out, because we weren't creating the wins that we, the hits that we needed to do it. So I sympathize a little more with him than Theranos.
Well, I think they've both been in the same position, right? Because what they've done is they've started off with this idea, and all of a sudden they have, done one or two things to move ahead, and then they're just constantly trying to cover up the next thing, or, trying to get the next thing. And I do think it's the same, Joe, because all of a sudden they've got in so deep and they're like, oh, I just need to get the next thing done to be able to move forward. So, yeah, I think it is. But the other thing is that in regards to the investors and what you were saying, Joe, people love confidence. And that's what she had. And obviously that's what, the other had. So where this gets tricky, like, where's the line between confidence and just straight out, I don't even know what that is. I haven't got a word for
fraud.
Well, yeah, that.
There's a difference between stretching the truth and just
fraud.
like and fraud. There's definitely a difference there, right?
Well, I think what they're saying is that in the startup culture, like, it's so encouraged and accepted that these numbers and these plans are going to be so inflated, that there's so much acceptance that now we are seeing more fraud. And Elizabeth Holmes may be an extreme case, but we've got Adam Newman at WeWork. We've we've got this guy that you just said. I mean, these are people that have squandered quite a bit of investor money. And I don't care if you're SoftBank, even SoftBank, your pockets are not limitless. They lost a lot of money with WeWork and a lot of other investments, actually. So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to change culture, but I know that I don't want to go to court for my, for my startup. Yeah. I would rather maybe be a little more truthful and protect myself and my business. And I don't know. I think that startup culture has gotten a really, I don't know, toxic. Out of
I think so too, Jen. And I think that there's so much glory in it now of how much money I've raised. And to me, I've always been a bit weird about this, that people raise all this money and then they pay themselves. And that, for a lot of startups, it's like, we started this company and then, I paid myself, $100,000 a year. And then all of a sudden we had no money. I'm like, this to me makes no sense whatsoever. I just don't understand it. And I feel like it's almost like they're spending their time on how do we get investors rather than how do we get our business to work.
Absolutely. Not focusing on business fundamentals, profit. They just think, oh, I'll just get more free money. I've been fascinated by that for years, and as a business person, I just don't understand it. Years ago, Thor was hired at a startup. He was like the seventh person. And this is a startup that got a lot of positive press, a lot of momentum. This is during like the whole internet bubble. Literally, people were dying to write checks to, tech companies. So they got tons of investor money. They had a great idea. It was in the educational space. So Thor was like all about it. He really loved like what they were doing. But he also was privy to the real numbers, not the numbers they were sharing with their investors. And they were telling investors they had X number of, tens of thousands of subscribers when they had like maybe 100 subscribers. I mean,
wow.
just anyway, the CEO was indicted. They crashed and burned big time because, again, he misappropriated investor funds. He lied to investors. So they were on the nightly news with Ted Koppel, again, for all the wrong reasons in the end. So this has been going on a long time. This is not like something that's, today. I mean, the Theranos story is just so fascinating on so many levels.
I mean, if you didn't know that it was real, you would think it was a movie, right?
Absolutely.
The first time I saw it, I was like, this is real? Really?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just insane that it got to what it did. I can't believe that it got to what it did and that people actually believed it.
Yes. She was very well connected, which helped a lot.
Mm.
And I don't know. My guess is I'm not sure. I think she's probably dealing with some mental illness, and if that's the case, I really hope she is getting the help that she needs. But yeah, I think that combination of like insane confidence and connections, and people wanted to believe it. I mean, if what she was putting out in the world was actually true, like who?
Oh, absolutely.
That diagnostic, method that, you were one sample of blood and you could tell that would be the only test you would need. I mean, it was, very.
We all wanted to believe that, right? We actually all wanted to believe it.
Yeah, of course. The world needs something like that, but she wasn't the one to bring it to us.
No, she was not.
It reminds me. Have either of you seen the Wizard of Lies? The TV movie with Robert De Niro talking about it's all about Bernie Madoff. Yeah, you should watch that.
There you go. That's another one.
That was really good. There's another one too with Richard Dreyfuss playing Bernie Madoff. I think I've watched both of them. I'm pretty sure I've watched both of them. But yeah, it just goes to show like, anybody, is going to do what they got to do to appear bigger than they actually are. And
hang on, I'm just gonna correct one thing. Not anybody. I'm not gonna say anybody because I think I could not see any of us doing that. I could not see any of us doing it because it goes against our values. I could see how some people could do it.
Thank you, Sam.
I would say a lot of people that you're watching online. Are not afraid to do it, and thank you for correcting me, Sam. I do appreciate that. It's horrible, but like I said, I don't think it's going to change startup culture much. It might give somebody a second thought of like, ooh, should we really be like gaming these numbers to that level to make it look like that, because that is, gaming how many people you have as subscribers and things like that is not good.
Well, who's fueling this is actually the investors, because what's happening is you're being, I can't think of the word, like reprimanded, I guess is not the right word, but when you're telling the truth, you miss out. You could be in exactly the same boat as all the other people that you're competitive with, but if you're the only one that's telling the truth and you're missing out, then it's the investors that are fueling it.
Yeah, toxic.
I can give a baseball example. That we had a baseball player here who was a pitcher who was using steroids, and he was a very much on the bubble player. And he beat out another guy, and this came out years after the fact that like he beat out that other guy who wasn't using steroids, and that guy wrote, thanks for basically bumping me off when you were cheating. Like I lost my position on a team because you cheated. So like that affected my livelihood and my opportunity to make it to the the big game, the big leagues. And that kind of thing. And I also want to point out, so I was interviewed a little while back for a newspaper or a press paper in Europe, talking about the glorification of startup money. And it's really not all it's meant up to be, because you really are becoming your own. You're going from being the boss to the employee, even if it's just 5%, any amount of money that you're taking on as an investor, from investors, is money that has to be repaid and taken care of spent frivolously in any kind of way. So really, like the diet, the pressure meter should dial up as you take on that money, not the other way around. And I know specifically this comment came up literally, I think yesterday or the day before, because our good friend of the show, Larry Roberts, had a really big rant against one of the Shark Tank episode entrepreneurs that was on the show about, like, oh, they were talking about like, oh yeah, we burned $1.3 million and we're gonna get there and all that, and it's apparently I'm breaking my audio is breaking up.
I was actually sitting here wondering if it was my
No,
computer.
Sam, I hear your audio, but your video is blurry.
Oh, weird. I don't know. I'm gonna run a speed test. I don't know if it's. Oh wow. Well, I don't know what's going on all of a sudden. It must be something because I'm looking at my internet speed's right, but my connection to here is not good. Tell you what, why don't you take over, Jen? I'll be right back.
Oh, that's such a responsibility, Joe. Okay, let me see what we haven't talked about. That might be interesting. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, we'll just stay on theme. Okay, are you okay with that, Sam?
Yep, let's do that.
You'll see what I mean. This article Joe pulled, delivery driver slams tip baiting, but customers defend the practice. So this is, the theme is third-party delivery apps, I suppose. Food delivery. Oh, you're back, Joe.
I'm back.
Okay, I stayed on theme, but I was under the gun, and I did the best I could do.
That's okay.
You did awesome. You did awesome.
Oh my gosh! I'm so glad you're back, Joe. So much responsibility.
Hopefully, I'm not breaking up now.
No, all perfect now.
Oh, I don't know why we're seeing cats. It doesn't seem appropriate. But I love.
Yeah, right.
I love it. They're not even cats. It's like little. What do you call it?
That's a warthog.
That's a warthog. It looks like a lemur.
Oh yeah. No. All it's missing is a gassy warthog. Oh, it's
Okay.
It does look like a lemur.
Looks like a baby lemur.
Yeah.
Aww. All right.
Yeah, it's a meerkat.
Oh, meerkat. Yeah, meerkat.
Thanks to your post. That has lots to do with tip baiting.
Yeah, so I know New York Post, maybe not the best source. Okay. Well, first of all, do you guys know what tip baiting is? This was
no.
I didn't know that this was a thing, like that you could do something like that. So please.
Okay, so tip baiting is when I don't do this. I would never do this. You order food and you want to make sure the food comes to you and that you're prioritized among the deliveries. So you enter a very generous tip. However, apparently in these apps, you have the opportunity to adjust that tip upon delivery. So then they get the food, thank you very much, and then they lower it down to whatever, like a normal tip or a less than normal tip. And delivery drivers are understandably upset because, again, they feel like that's a carrot at the end of the stick. They're expecting a tip. They might take deliveries that are out of their way or inconvenient, with the understanding that they would be compensated by this tip, and then the customer lowers the tip. Customers and the platform say, hey, we have the right to adjust. We should have the right to adjust the tips based on the quality of the service.
Not very nice.
Not very nice. Not nice at all.
No, I mean, to me, it seems like a somewhat easy problem to fix. You just don't allow them to adjust down past a certain percentage. You just hard limit. Like, okay, cool. You want to give a $20 tip? Well, if you do that, you can only adjust it by 15% or something. Down, up or down, or maybe up as much as you want, but down by 15%. So then at least the person delivering the food knows, like, okay, I'm going to receive a bare minimum this tip. I mean, it is inflating it, and it's all kind of silly still, but yeah, that's that. It's still not for the drivers, obviously, but it's just the concept is it's all kind of a game being played here that is kind of silly. So
Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
not
It's not
nice.
very fair.
It's
It's
not
not very
nice.
nice.
no,
Oh.
it's super easy to, like I said, I think it's super easy to fix. You just let people know, like, hey, you're not gonna be able to adjust this down. Like, are you sure? Because you can adjust it down, but you're only gonna be able to go down. Maybe it's 20% down from whatever it is. I don't know,
Mm.
but it does. It'll start curtailing that real fast.
Mm.
Yeah. Does somebody have something to say about it?
No, I mean, just sign of the times, I guess. I mean,
Mm,
why? Just be nice. Just be nice.
Yeah.
Why are we being so crappy?
that's a great question. I did have one cool thing to talk about this week before we run out of time here, and it's not the thing I talked about. I brought up right before we started recording here. We'll save that for another day, when we have more time to rant about the sign of the times. But my one cool thing is this kettle. I personally don't like using the Keurig. Like, we have a Keurig machine, and I don't like making tea from that Keurig machine because the coffee grinds inevitably are always in it, and I don't like getting those coffee grinds in my tea.
Did you call customer service?
There's a couple customer service things
Oh my God.
I can tell you about.
The fact that you even hesitated, Joe,
Oh God,
my head's in my hands.
Can we schedule an intervention?
No.
Please, somebody
All right.
back me up.
I will actually come there for that intervention.
Oh, you know what? Let's have the intervention then. So I went on a search to find out, like, how can I make tea without, like, putting it in the microwave, or like the water in the microwave to heat it up, or like boiling it, or
Iron a
whatever,
butter.
all that stuff. So I didn't realize that electric kettles are a thing. Never heard of it in my life. So I went on a search. It actually took almost an hour to find the right electric kettle, because when I started reading reviews, people were like, "Oh, there's plastic touching my water," and I started thinking, like, that's a good point. I don't know that I would want, for the amount of tea that I would drink, like 1 to maybe 3 cups a day. I don't want to be ingesting that much hot plastic into my drink either. So it was actually very hard to find one that worked, that didn't have any plastic touching the water. And this is the one that I found, $32, which is a great price. I'm very, happy with it. But what I'm most impressed with, and what got me to the point where I was like, yeah, I showed Melissa, like, literally as soon as I turn it on, the water starts bubbling. Like, within like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, the water starts bubbling in it. And it's boiling within like 2 to 3 minutes. And I'm like, wow, like we should stop boiling every time we make pasta, which is, often here between mac and cheese and pasta in the Italian household. We should not be we should just be using this, not to make the pasta in it, obviously, but boil the water, dump it in the pot, turn the stove, the stove on. And instead of taking 15, 20 minutes to boil a small pot of water, this thing's doing it in seconds, virtually. So this is my thing for $30, all stainless steel and glass. They're the only pieces of plastic that potentially could touch is like right up around this, like right around the mechanism to flip the top open. And it even comes with this cute little cleaning wand.
Well, that's what I thought was going to be when you said, the best part about it. I thought it was going to be the flower cleaning wand.
Yeah.
No.
When we opened this up, Joe, oh my goodness, Leon, my husband, actually said, "What is the flower for?"
It uses so much less electricity, can boil so much water, auto shut off, and it's just awesome for $30. Like, totally awesome. Totally.
Well, I've got to say, when
I
I opened this up, I actually started laughing because I only found out, and a reputable source, I found out on TikTok only in the last few weeks, that electric kettles weren't a thing in the US. Every Australian household has had them since the 80s. So
we have one at our house. We have one.
Yeah, so I didn't realize that it wasn't a wide a widely used thing, though, that, because every Australian household has them. My kids at dancing used to make their pasta in it every Saturday at dancing by boiling the kettle, exactly like Joe.
Oh,
That's how they made their
Wow.
lunches every Saturday,
clever.
30 years ago. So you can boil an egg in one.
That's a I'm gonna tell Melissa she loves. I mean, I like boiled eggs too, but she likes egg salad and things like that way more than
Do
I
it in
do.
the do it in the electric kettle.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it says the electric boiler heats up in 5 to 7 minutes faster than a microwave, and it is. It's incredible. Like this should not be a thing that I'm excited about, but an all non-plastic, very virtually inexpensive. At $32, and it's gonna save us a ton of electricity because our stove is all electric and it's on a lot, like very often, just to boil water for one reason or another. So, yay!
Yay for
eco-friendly.
electric kettles.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Good for you, Joe,
Thank you. I am proud
with
of
your
myself.
boiling water.
Well, like I said, I didn't even know it was a thing. I was just trying to find like what's the other way to do, like, because Melissa's like, oh, we'll just get a kettle, and I was like, yeah, that takes forever. I'm never going to use that. Like, never. I mean, never. I'm never going to make tea using a kettle. Like, that's not going to happen. It just takes too long.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to 2022.
Yeah.
Also
Yes.
known as 1990.
Yes. Ding ding. Ding ding. Well, I think that pretty much wraps it up for this week of the Business Geeks podcast. We are sponsored by yourpodcastconcierge.com. Shout out to Leon for editing these podcast episodes for us and getting them up. If you haven't checked it out, check out the show on the podcast feed. Go to businessgeekspodcast.com. We'll be back next Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Friday, 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Time. I got it right. And I hope you all have an amazing week. Happy New Year. Take care, everybody.
Bye.